Today I'm going to share with you this fun corset braid. You can use it on pretty much any type of a braid, but I'm going to share with you a pipe braid because I thought that would be really fun to go over. I am super excited to be here with you all on Hairbrain Live. Hairbrain is one of my favorite places to come for education and inspiration, and my hope today is that I can leave you with some of the same. So we're going to get right into it, talk about this pipe braid, which I'm going to do on this side of the hair. Then I'll go into wrapping the leftover hair with a little bit of extensions to add a little more drama. And last, why wear a plain braid when you can dress it up? So we're going to go over some stitching made simple, where I'm going to go ahead and just take this leather cord and stitch it through the braid. So to prep her hair, I started off by curling it with our Moroccan oil 1-inch everlasting curl titanium curling iron. It adds a lot of shine to the hair and it created this beautiful wave. I went through with Perfect Defense before I curled, which is going to give me heat protection up to 450 degrees. So I just sprayed that throughout. And then I also added in some dry texture spray, which I actually love to curl over because it gives me a nice hold and some great grip and texture at the same time. So if you've never tried that for curling, I highly recommend it. Now for this braid, and if you're just joining me, I'll go ahead and introduce myself again. My name is Kelly Bowen. I'm part of the Moroccan Oil Artistic team, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today. It's fun to see everybody hopping online. And so we're going to go through and get this pipe braid started. So with a pipe braid, I have one strand of hair that I'm going to be knotting hair around as I feed it into the braid. I'll show you this pipe braid one more time. Right over here, this is where we're going to. So I want to just take this first section of hair. If you want the braid to start closer to the hairline, you're going to go ahead and come, with a smaller section right up close. What this is going to do though is give you a smaller pipe, if you will, as you come down the hair. I kind of wanted something a little bit more dense so that I have a thicker result with this stitching. I also like how it's kind of dropped back from her hairline just a bit, and I was able to get this volume up here through the top. So I'm going to go through, take this first section of hair, and then I'll just kind of be turning her back and forth so you can see what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And like I said, this section is what everything is going to wrap around. I'll pick up my first section. This is coming right to the center of where that original strand is. And then as I'm braiding, I'm going to be working with my Moroccan oil molding cream. This is one of my favorite products to braid with, especially when I want some control and a little bit of extra shine. It's got a nice fibrous consistency, and I'm just going to rub some of that right onto the back of my palm. Pick up these strands that I started working with, and what's left over on my fingertips, I'm going to run right through this strand of hair. And I'll run some through that center strand as well. I'm just making sure to keep it right where I'm working on the hair right now. So I don't want to bring it all the way through the ends yet, just right where I'm going to be wrapping that hair. So I've got that center strand. I've got my first side section that I'm going to wrap around, and I want to put my index finger around that first strand, put it underneath, and then I'm going to just come through, add my thumb so I can pinch that strand and pull it through. Now I'll bring it over to the other side, pull up, and then you can either have your client or your model hold on to this strand, you can phone a friend to come hold on to this strand, or when you're all by yourself like I am right now, I like to just take a clip. One of these no crease clips works great, and just clip it up and out of the way. Now that piece is going to stay secure and my wrap is going to stay tight. I'll come through right here on the front side, grab my second strand. I've got a little bit more molding cream here that I can pick up and just work that through that second piece. And again, just working it right through the area that's going to tie into a knot. And now I'll repeat what I just did. Put my index finger underneath, bring that strand underneath of my center, reach my thumb through so I can pinch that strand, and then pull it through, wrap it under, and pull it up. And then you can push this hair up too so your knots stay nice and tight. Again, since I don't have a friend and my mannequin doesn't have any hands, I'm just going to take a clip and clip this up and out of the way so that it stays nice and secure for me. Now I'm going to flip back over to the other side, this original strand. I'll add a little bit more molding cream to that piece. And then tie the same knot as I just tied. So creating that loop, reaching through, and then tying it, crossing under, pushing that strand up, and then I'll clip it off over here to the other side. I had that little bubble right there, so I'm just going to tuck it in, pull that strand a little bit tighter, and now the same thing. Grab some molding cream, wrap it around, and then pull it through. And so this essentially creates my first section. Now I'm just going to continue that all the way down. Every section essentially has 4 knots. So I'm going to gather this hair that I just finished tying off right into that center strand. So if you're wondering what happens to those pieces that I just pulled in from the side, after they tie around 4 times, they're going to go ahead and join into that center. So now I'm starting again over here on the left. And I like to work from the center out. So that's what I had done on the other side. I started in the center, so that happened to be on the right. And then that way you'll see as I go, I create this fun pattern that shows up on the outside of the braid. Pull that up tight, clip that off, picking up that next strand. Who here has done a pipe braid before? Is this something new for everybody? Or is this something that you've tried? And if you have tried it, do you have any questions on it? Is there something that's challenging you with it? So I just keep bringing this, making my loop, bringing that strand under, and then tying it in that knot. Flip it over to the other side, and then pull up nice and tight. Now because I'm coming through with my corset stitch, I don't mind a little bit of texture happening here as I come through with this braid. I went in at the beginning and I created a zigzag parting that you'll be able to see. That kind of gives me a little bit more of a 90s effect. Who's kind of digging all this 90s that's happening again right now? I definitely think it's super fun. So a little bit of 90s in there. Coming back in, I've got my 2 knots tied. I'm taking down that first strand. Smooth a little bit of molding cream through it, and then creating that knot. Always pulling up and over to the other side. Now once I've got that in, I can join it into that center strand. And then same thing over here. I'll take that clip out, grab that strand, and then wrap it tight. Ooh, a little 60s I see, yes. I like that. And then grabbing that strand back into my center. So taking that next section, I've got a little molding cream still on my fingers, so I'm just running that through every time. And as you're braiding, I think it's really important to just kind of work on some of that self-talk. So just really staying focused on what you're doing and just getting that repetition in is really going to help you to stay on track with where you are. clipping that piece up and out of the way, picking up a strand from the other side, catch a little bit more molding cream, and then we'll take this and we'll knot it again. So if you're just joining, what we're creating is a pipe braid. And what I love about a pipe braid is when you look at it, it's got some great pattern to it, some fun texture, and it's hard to tell what exactly is happening there. And that's the kind of braids that I really love. Braids and styles where you're like, how did they do that? What exactly is going on there? Keeps them guessing. So grab that opposite strand, tighten it up. This will be our third knot on this section. What else is kind of fun too is the smaller sections you take, the more intricacy you have in your braid. And so you'll start to see more and more of that pattern. The bigger sections that you take, the faster your braid is going to build. So you have some fun options. And again, since I'm corseting this braid with this stitching like I have here on the other side, I don't even mind if my sections are a little bit erratic. I have this zigzag parting going back here, so you can see that no matter what I do, my sections aren't going to be perfectly even. And so I think that's really part of what gives this braid that cool vibe. So I want it to have some unevenness with the amounts, and that kind of gives me a little bit of a different texture and pattern throughout that braid as well. So coming in here with my next strand, beginning that knotting pattern. So I loop it through, and then I always bring it over to the other side and pull up so it gets nice and tight. I love these no crease clips to work with. I work with them in a lot of my different styling, but especially with braiding like this, because they keep that strand up there nice and securely for me, but also they're not going to crease the hair at all or disturb my braid. So super easy to work with. Every single time I come in, I grab a little bit more of my molding cream and just kind of work that through. And where am I working it through? It's really important to just keep it right up where that hair is going to wrap around and not bring it all the way through the ends, because it's going to create a texture through the ends that I don't necessarily want to have yet. So pulling this up, clipping it away. Let's say you find that the ends continue to kind of get caught up in the hair that you're working with and they're making your knots more messy. You can always just come in with like a Moroccan oil clip, works great. These won't crease the hair either, and just go ahead and clip that away. And that gives you a cleaner, more controlled workspace to be in as well. So tightening this up before I grab it, work that molding cream through, tie off that third knot, and join it in with my main section. Grab my other strand, pull it tight, tying off that next knot, bring it up, and then back down. And now joining those strands into that main center piece. I'll give her a little spin. If anybody has any questions, definitely feel free to pop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer everything. If you ever struggle with your braids coming up and off of the head, especially as you get down to the bottom, it's really important to have your client go ahead and put their head down so that you can really get their fingers in tight. You can have them turn their head if you need to. You just always want to make sure that you can have a really great, comfortable position to work in where you can keep your hands as close to the head as possible. So wherever your hands are, that's where your braid is going to be. If my hands are over here, next thing I know, my braid is going to start moving forward, and this all is going to be really saggy at the end. So I think that's something that as professionals we're always really striving for with our braids, is to keep that control and keep them tighter up against the scalp. So taking that next section, I'm always positioning my body in such a way too that I keep that braid moving in the direction that I want. Because that's another problem that I'll see and run into, is watching a braid kind of traveling the opposite direction of where I want it to go. So if you want a braid that's going to come down and wrap around the head towards the back, and you are standing in front of the head, it's not going to get there. You're naturally going to bring the braid to you, and then what's going to end up happening is, again, that sagginess, droopiness on the bottom. So taking that first section again, I'd like to just tighten it up one more time before I bring it around and tie off that knot. Once that first knot is tied, I can grab that into my center section. Next, I'll take this next clip, go ahead and wrap this around and tie it up tight. So you can see something that's fun about this pipe braid. It is really pretty quick moving. And like I had said before, you could go through with smaller sections if you wanted to have more and more detail within your braid. So just adding in that molding cream. Every section I come in with a little bit of molding cream, and this is going to give me some shine and a lot of control. Other products that I like to work with while I'm braiding are Moroccan oil mending infusion, because that's going to add some moisture to the hair and a lot of shine, but stay really soft and lightweight. It almost kind of disappears into the hair for me. I also like hydrating styling cream for if I need to add a little bit more moisture into the hair. And I get just a little bit more hold from that hydrating styling cream than I'm getting from the mending infusion. And texture clay is a fun one to braid with as well if you're really looking for more texture and a little bit of kind of that roughness within your braid. So lots of fun options. And what I love about experimenting with different products while I'm braiding is that I can do the exact same technique and see all the different types of results that I can create. So any questions anybody has, go ahead and just let me know right here in the comments. I'm almost done with this pipe braid. As I'm coming through here on the end, I'll notice that some of my ends from these layers are kind of popping out, so I just take a little bit more care as I'm tightening up that hair to make sure that it goes over top of the ends and the ends are still smoothed down so that I don't stir those up as I'm tightening up these strands. It's just going to give me a neater result. So this is my last section. I'll do one more little recap for you all and bring her in nice and close, tipping her down so I can keep my hands close up to the nape. I have a center strand here that I've been knotting all of the hair around. For every 2 strands, the left strand and the right strand that I pick up, I go ahead and knot it around the hair 4 times. So starting off with my left, I'm going to just loop that hair around my index finger and thumb, wrap it back around, and pull it through in a knot. Now you can see these ends kind of popping out. If you can't, I'll tell you they're there. So I'm going to just kind of gently move that hair up to where I want it to be and then pull it tight. And that way I keep control over all of those little ends that might want to pop out and just really disturb my work. Clip that up and out of the way. When you're doing this on a live human, you can have them just hold this strand for you. Makes it go just a little bit faster. So again, now the right strand, looping my fingers through, grabbing that strand of hair, pulling it into a knot, and then gently moving it up to where I need it to be. And then I cross that hair underneath to the other side to finish tightening it. I love these no crease clips. They put good tension on the hair and give me nice control. And they're not going to disturb my style at all. Pop that out. So now I'm back to that first original strand that I did. Wrapping it around. I've got that molding cream on there for control. I'll bring it to the other side and tighten it up and then feed it into my center strand. And then this is the last one. So coming in, tying that around, pulling it up and tight, and then joining it into that center strand. So now to tie this off is really simple. You're just going to take a clear elastic. Got one right here. I like to stretch them just a little bit before I wrap them around. Make sure they're not going to break. And then you'll just tie this off right underneath of where you ended. So securing that. And then I'll tighten that up. Pull the edge of that strand down and the elastic just disappears right underneath. So isn't that fun? And then here's that kind of pattern that pops up on the outside, so that's why on both sides I started out braiding from the inside so that I would have that opposite effect on each side so she'd be symmetrical. And now you can see I've got a little bit more length on this side than I do on this side. So you don't have to add hair, but I thought it would be fun to make it be a little bit more dramatic. So coming in here, I'm just going to show you a really fast way to pop on some extensions to give her a little more drama. I've just got some simple wefts right here. I tied them with a few knots so that I could wrap them in half and then put them around this hair really quickly and easily. And then to secure them, I'm going to use a needle and thread. So you could use a clear thread, you could use thread that matches up to the hair color more perfectly. I chose a contrasting thread because I think it's easier to show and teach with, and then you can really see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to bring this right up, right around where that elastic is, and begin to wrap it into place. Giving it nice tension, and because I just took a minute and did that pre-stitching, it goes right around and the hair isn't slipping. So now I'm going to take my curved needle with that thread, and I'm going to come inside of the hair extensions, through the braid, and then pull it through. To secure this, I'll come through that thread and then pull tight. And now I just want to come around the ponytail several times until I'm sure that this isn't going to go anywhere. What's everybody think so far? Anyone excited to see that leather cording go around the braid and how to stitch this? So now I'm going to come in from behind, pull tight, so if this is something that maybe you would have a little bit more chance of seeing, you can definitely come in with like a clear thread would be great. Again, I like this contrasting thread because you can see it a little bit better. Once you have this nice and secured and it's not going anywhere, you can go ahead and tie it off. So I'm just going to go through, bring in another knot. I'll go through the center 2 times and tie that tight. And then I just want to do that one more time to make sure that it's really not going anywhere. So come in, coming through the center 2 times, and then pull that tight. In my kit, I like to keep a little scissors. This is super convenient for just being able to come in and work with this thread and just cut it right off at the base. So now that I've got a little extensions on there for some more added length, we've got that pipe braid in there and secured. Now I'm going to come in and dress this braid up a little bit more. So you could definitely just, if you wanted to stop here, you could take a strand of this hair and wrap it around where you secured those extensions. I'd probably recommend using some clear thread to be able to do something like that, so you make sure that none of that contrast is going to be popping through. Everything's super seamless and all of our secrets stay hidden. But I think it's really fun to just dress this up a little bit more with some cool corset stitching. So right here I've got some leather cording. I thought this kind of like terracotta color would be fun for fall, but you can really do any kind of color with it. You could do something that's a little bit more blended for something subtle, or you can really make it pop. You can go metallic, you can go elastic, lots and lots of different options. It takes quite a bit to be able to go all the way around this and then have some left over to be able to wrap on the ends. But this gets a little bit difficult and tedious to work with, right? So I like to start off with about 4 arms length of the leather, and then you can always add more to wrap it around the ponytail at the end. I think that just makes it a little bit easier to control, and easier is always going to be faster for us. So anything that you can just condense down, it's just going to keep things moving more smoothly. So my handy dandy scissors, snip that off. Now I've got some left over that I can wrap around that ponytail. I'm coming through. I like these needles with just a little bit of a curve at the end of them. And something that you want to make sure and take care not to do is tying a knot. If I go through and tie a knot on this, I'm going to get it stuck under the braid every time. So you want to keep this end loose, and I just pull through a little extra. It makes it go through the hair faster, and then it's also going to help keep that needle on that cord. I'm coming in with a double needle, so I want to have 2 needles. This way I can just zoop, zoop, zoop really fast all the way through. So starting off right up here at the top of the braid, I'm going to come in and pull that cording through to get it started. I want to have my cording be pretty even here. So just kind of taking a little care to double check on that. And then I like to also start off with a loop. So I'm coming in from the other side and then just using my opposite needle to pull that back around. And just position that right in. This is a great time as well if I want to just add a little bit of lift. I can do that here. And just kind of polish up and perfect that top. Now I get to begin that corset stitching. So I'm going to go side to side, crossing over and pulling through. Now coming in with my other needle, position that cord, cross in at about the same point and pull through. So this, you can see, is something that can go really, really fast. You have high impact really easily. I think it's kind of fun to even just keep some of this cording right in your kit or right at the salon so that you have something ready if somebody wants to try and do something a little bit different. And clients, also go ahead and bring something in. If you have an accessory that you're thinking of that would be fun to add into the hair or into a hairstyle, definitely bring that in because we stylists love to see that. After this stitch, I'll just give her a little